In the summer of 1939, as Europe teetered on the brink of war, an unlikely scene played out on a small island in the Irish Sea. Cheering crowds, roaring engines, and men in swastika-emblazoned uniforms preparing to race through British streets at over 100 miles per hour. This was the Isle of Man TT. And among the competitors that year was a full team of riders sent directly by Nazi Germany. The TT, or Tourist Trophy, was already the world's most prestigious motorcycle race. First held in 1907, it had grown into a global event. A test of courage, engineering, and endurance, run on 37 miles of treacherous public roads, winding through the hills and villages of the Isle of Man. Riders came from all over the world to compete. Crashes were frequent. Deaths, sadly, not uncommon. But for those brave enough, the TT was the ultimate challenge in motorcycle sport. But 1939 was no ordinary year. Across Europe, tension was rising. Hitler had already annexed Austria and Czechoslovakia. German troops were mobilizing. Britain was preparing for war. The world stood on a knife's edge. And yet, that June, Germany didn't send tanks to the Isle of Man. It sent motorcycles, along with a carefully selected team of riders, symbols of Nazi power, discipline, and propaganda. This is the story of the most bizarre and forgotten race in TT history, the Nazi TT. In late May 1939, just weeks before the world would erupt into war, a German racing team arrived on the Isle of Man. They came by ferry, disembarking in Douglas with their transport lorries, mechanics, and finely tuned racing machines. They stood out immediately. Their appearance was unmistakably militaristic. Crisp uniforms, precision movements, and on some jackets, the emblem of the Nazi Party. This wasn't just sport, it was soft power, a statement. Hitler's regime had been using international sport as a propaganda tool for years. Just 3 years earlier, the 1936 Berlin Olympics had showcased Nazi Germany to the world. Now the TT was another stage. The bikes themselves were cutting edge. German manufacturers like DKW, NSU, and BMW had poured resources into motorsport, developing two-stroke race machines that were light, fast, and frighteningly efficient. In particular, DKW's supercharged 250c racer had already dominated European circuits. But the Germans weren't met with hostility, at least not openly. Many in the British public were still clinging to hope that war might be avoided. Others were simply excited to see world-class machinery in action. Behind the scenes, however, officials and competitors couldn't ignore the unease. It was a strange sight. Nazi riders preparing to race through British villages, cheered on by spectators, while their country's tanks were already massing in Europe. Despite the tension, the racers went ahead, and what followed would cement the German team's place in TT history. Among the favourites that year were two highly polished riders from Nazi Germany, Georg Kluge, a pre-race favourite in the 250cc lightweight class, and Georg Meier, BMW's rising star, in the 500cc senior TT. With racing well underway, one of the German riders, Georg Kluge, was up to bring home the glory for his team in the 250cc lightweight race. Georg Kluge, though highly favoured, was forced to retire on lap 5 with mechanical failure. That victory instead went to British rider Ted Mellors, aboard an Italian Benelli. Friday, June 16, 1939. The Isle of Man TT, the most prestigious motorcycle race in the world, entered its final and most demanding event, the Senior TT. Meier was a former army dispatch rider, a methodical and fiercely skilled competitor. His machine? The BMW Type 255 compressor, a shaft-driven supercharged beast unlike anything else on the island. It had already proven itself in European Grand Prix racing. Now it would face the mountain course. From the moment the flag dropped, Meier asserted dominance. He stormed around the island with astonishing precision, lapping faster than any foreign rider before him. Despite concerns over clutch issues and intense pressure from the British field, Meier never faltered. There was no stopping Meier. He completed the 7 laps, over 264 miles, in just 2 hours, 57 minutes and 19 seconds. His average speed? Nearly 90 miles per hour, blisteringly fast for the era. He became the first foreign rider to ever win the senior TT, breaking a 30-year British and Commonwealth monopoly. The crowd applauded, but the significance ran deeper. The German team didn't celebrate loudly. Their presence had been met with polite tension throughout the week, but back in Berlin, the regime wasted no time. Newsreels, papers and radio celebrated Meier's victory as proof of German engineering supremacy and Aryan athleticism. In Nazi eyes, this wasn't just a motorcycle race, it was a soft power victory on foreign soil. In Britain, the press praised Meier's sportsmanship and brilliance, but many couldn't help but feel uneasy. Swastikas flying over the podium in June of 1939 was more than just symbolic. It was the last TT before the world was engulfed in war. In just 10 weeks, the world would change forever. But for that fleeting moment, on a windswept island in the Irish Sea, the German team had conquered the most sacred road course in motorsport history. Just 10 weeks after Georg Meier's historic senior TT win, the world descended into chaos. On September 1st, 1939, Germany invaded Poland. 2 days later, Britain and France declared war. The Second World War had begun. Racing stopped. The Isle of Man TT was cancelled for the duration of the war. The trophies were locked away. The engines silenced. Many of the riders traded leathers for uniforms. Georg Meier returned to military service with the German army, while others, British and European, found themselves on opposite sides of the greatest conflict in human history. The Nazi propaganda machine used the 1939 TT results as part of a broader campaign to highlight German supremacy in technology, discipline, and even sport. Meier's face appeared in newsreels and papers. The win became a tool of soft power. But for Meier himself, the fame was fleeting. After the war, he returned to racing in West Germany and remained a respected figure in motorsport. He never joined the Nazi Party and was widely remembered by peers for his quiet professionalism and talent, not his politics. The Isle of Man TT resumed in 1947, in a world irrevocably changed. The scars of war were fresh, and the events of 1939, that strange TT overshadowed by looming war and marked by Nazi involvement, quietly faded from public memory. Today, few remember that in the final summer before World War II, a German rider led a Nazi-backed team to victory on British soil. But the story of Georg Meier and the 1939 TT is more than just a historical curiosity. It's a snapshot, a moment frozen in time, where sport collided with politics, nationalism, and the coming storm. A race at the edge of war. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this film, please like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments what other moments from TT history you'd like us to cover.